on what you might
Look at his face. Alright, let's lock in, let's lock in, let's lock in.
With you.
call a shut-in. I've spent the past 5 years of my life shut off from the outside world in my tiny studio apartment. Other people might find it claustrophobic, but I find it comforting. This apartment is my world, and it's small enough that I know everything that goes on in it at any given moment. Here, I know that I'm safe and protected from the chaotic world outside the window that I always keep closed and curtained. I wasn't always like this, though. I used to be a normal kid with a loving family. Back then, I lived in a fairly large house with my parents and older brother. I don't remember my parents very well. I know they loved my older brother and I, but they were always too busy with work to actually spend much time with us. My brother, on the other hand,
Why is this piano
I
going
can remember
crazy in the
perfectly.
back?
He was a lot older than me, and more often than not, had to be the one to take care of me when my parents worked late into the night. I've eaten his cooking more times than my mom's.
What type of cereal
He
is
never
that?
seemed to mind taking care of me, though. Sometimes I wonder how much of that was a facade. A teenager like him must have felt frustrated having to take care of his kid brother all the time. Thankfully, he was kind enough to never blame me for it. Not overtly, anyways. In return, I tried my best to not bother him or my parents as much as possible. I was a shy, quiet kid, even back then anyways. I kept to myself both at school and at home, locking myself in my room until it was my time to eat, and only coming out when asked to. In my mind, I was trying my best to not be a bother to anyone.
That's a big ass
Looking back,
house.
I think I might have come off as cold or
You got two
uncaring to my
garages.
family. Maybe if I'd tried to talk to them more, things would have gone differently. One night, I woke up to the sound of my door handle rattling.
Shit, it's
I'd made
loud
it a
as hell in
habit to
my
lock
ear.
my doors early, one, out of shyness, and that most likely saved my life. I got out of bed to open the door, thinking that my brother needed something from me. But when I heard the person from the other side bang loudly on the door, I froze.
Alright, what are y'all doing in that, like, situation? If you just chilling in your room and you hear someone start banging on it, trying to get in, some scary shit. Me, I think I'm jumping out the window. Actually, no, it depends on how hard it's banging. If it's banging like super loud, I'm jumping out the window. But if it's like not that loud, I might just have to open it up and see what's going on. Maybe just go heads up with whoever banging like that.
In my tracks. My brother was a calm, patient person. He never once raised his voice at me. It wasn't like him to bang on my door like that in the middle of the night. The person on the other side continued to bang on the door, getting louder and louder with every passing second, until I was afraid that it might break. All I could do was curl up in my bed under my blanket. At some point, I fell asleep and woke up the next morning drenched in my own sweat. I tried to
What if he woke up and it was still banging? How do you even fall asleep like that? There's definitely no way I'm falling asleep. No way at all. It's crazy.
convince myself that it was just a dream. Almost succeeded, too. But then I opened the door and stepped into my living room. What I saw there would haunt me for the rest of my life, even though I wasn't able to remember most of it. My court-appointed therapist tells me it's my mind repressing stressful memories that I wasn't
What the
mentally
f-
equipped enough to process yet. I can still recall some of those things, though. I remember the blood flowing
What
down the wooden
the?
floorboards, the metallic smell in the air that reached into the back of my throat to make me
What was
gag,
that?
the red and blue glare of the police.
Whoa.
Damn.
Damn. Imagine just going downstairs. You like, I'm about to eat some pancakes. I'm about to have some waffles, some bacon and eggs. You walk downstairs, you see some crazy shit like this. Entire family bodied. You got these ugly ass cops just in your fucking living room. Like, bro, who are these niggas, bro? Why do they look like that?
police lights as they pulled up to the side of the house to respond to what they thought was a noise complaint. Those bits managed to sneak past the cracks in my psyche. Now, they're pretty much the only thing I can remember about that old life. The repressed memories had extended to memories of my family in general. By the time I was released from the
What
foster
happened
system
to
and
his
found my
brother?
own apartment,
I don't know. I think honestly, I think his whole entire family got bodied, bro. Look at this dog right here, posted, chilling. You think this is a cigarette or a joint?
It has to be a joint. Look at his eyes.
Oh no, I think it's a cigarette. He look like he smokes cigarettes with the what
It's
are
a
these
spliff,
on.
bruv.
No! Why'd I click that shit? I'm fucking mad.
from the foster system and found my own in my psyche. I can remember about that old life. The repressed memories had extended to memories of my family in general. By the time I was released from the foster system and found my own apartment, I barely remembered anything about my family. Hell, I couldn't
Whoa,
even
wait. So
remember
he went to a foster care, so like his entire family did get bodied. He, bro said he can't even remember what his parents looked like. That's crazy. Hidden wiki. Oh god, he about to get into the deep
my
web.
parents' faces at that point anymore. I became a shut-in, living cheaply off money I made doing freelance tech jobs online. Then, one day, I looked in the mirror and saw for the first time just how sad and pathetic I'd gotten. Or rather, remained. 18 years old, and I was still the same scared little brat who hid under his blankets all those years. I thought that enough was enough, and that I would overcome my fear. The
Okay, okay.
therapist who I've been talking to online told me that some gradual exposure therapy could help me overcome my fears. She was talking about my fears of the outside world then. Once I felt I was ready, she intended to take me for a walk outside to get used to the environment.
She got him
But for
bad.
once in my life, I wanted to do more that was required of me. I was impatient after years of being trapped by my own mind, and wanted to take action while I still felt the determination to do so. That was the biggest mistake of my life.
Here's
Oh
to the ones who
God,
work
I get
smarter,
mad right now.
not harder.
I need that YouTube Premium.
Because the ones who
That is not okay.
Instead of
Easy,
gradually exposing myself to the outside world to get used to it, I decided to confront my fear of death firsthand, and the only way to do that was to witness it. I logged
Whoa.
on to the deep web.
How he figured that? How he figured the only way to fucking confront it is to watch a bunch of niggas get destroyed on the dark web? Like, but he could have been on like that'sfuck.com, some other shit. I mean, he said, "Fuck it, I'm going straight to the dark web."
Using a Tor browser and over a dozen security features. I may be a shut-in, but I was also a freelance techie with more than one working brain cell. If I was really going to explore the deep web, I wasn't going to take any risks. I went to several gore sites to see people after accidents or natural disasters. A soldier with his leg
Whoa.
torn apart by an explosion, its bits scattered on the dirt around him. The
That's
sight of a
literally what you
car
was talking
crash
about.
where the driver had been crushed.
And it's crazy because,
That's fuck shit.
bruh, it's crazy that we were literally looking at this shit and we were like fucking 10 years old, like 11 or some like fucking small ass age, bro, looking at this shit.
Just getting educated around the world.
Watching Two Girls, One Cup and shit. Little ass kids.
That's just disturbing, honestly.
Oh,
We could have gone without
God.
seeing that, but I mean, that's everybody has to go through that.
Bruh, everybody has to go through that shit at least once. When you grow up with the internet, it's just what it is.
In their seat, with their entrails spilling out of their eviscerated belly, and a person who'd been struck by lightning that
Whoa.
fired their skin into a blackish blue hue with dark, bulging veins beneath them. Some of the people in the pictures I couldn't even tell whether they were dead or alive. It might have been more merciful had they been dead. I wanted to close the browser so many times while browsing that site, but even as the tears filled my eyes alongside memories that I'd been trying to forget, I kept clicking on links and looking at the terrible photos that popped up without averting my gaze. I was determined to let myself not be scared by stuff like that anymore.
What the
It
heck?
seemed like I was doing well. I hadn't curled up on the bed in a panic attack yet, at least. But then I clicked one link titled Family Night
Bro, what if this is like his family? Bro, it's gonna be a crazy ass twist.
gone
Excited,
wrong.
bro. Let it play.
I
Let it play.
wasn't
Let it
sure
play.
what I was expecting it to be about, but I thought it'd just be another gruesome photo. Instead, it redirected me to a video. I knew it couldn't be a
Family
live
night
feed,
gone
though.
wrong,
I had
bro.
security programs that
Scary,
would block any
dog.
attempts to sync my computer to another device.
YouTube title and
I
shit.
might be a half-mad shut-in, but I'm not an idiot. The
Good
video
fridges,
showed the
family
dimly lit
money.
living room of a house. Tied and propped up in a sitting position on the couch were a middle-aged man and a woman with duct tape over their mouths. They were both sobbing through their closed mouths, but I could also hear another, younger voice sobbing with them from somewhere off camera. Two men in black ski masks walked into the frame, and each stood behind the man and woman. They both gently rested a hand on the man and woman's shoulder, like they were giving them a reassuring pat after a rough day at work. The effect they had was anything but comforting, though. The man and woman started hyperventilating. The sobbing of the younger voice off screen grew louder. Then, without warning, the masked men's resting hands tightened into a vice-like grip that made the man and woman visibly tense up in pain. The masked men pulled out switchblades from behind their backs, and in one swift
shit.
motion, slit the throats of the man and
Oh,
woman
God.
at the same time.
Oh,
A muffled scream came from off
shit.
screen
They
as
got
the man and woman bled to death,
destroyed.
unable to make any sound, but the
God
faint involuntary
damn.
Bro, that
Like a
sound
body.
they're making is
It's
fucking
like,
insane. Like some gurgling. Fucking crazy, bro. This nigga, bro, it's crazy that he
Bro.
was like, I'm trying not to be like traumatized and shit, and then he finds some shit like this. Like, his own parents getting bodied, bro. Like, what's the chances?
wheezing of air squeezing out of their open throat. But that's not what broke me. What made me close the browser was that I saw when the camera panned off of the
What is
couch and
it?
focused
Is
on
it
a
short hair?
teenage boy tied to a living room chair.
This is his brother.
I recognized that boy. He was my
His
brother.
brother.
That
No.
No shot, bro.
living room was my living room.
It's a plot
The
twist.
faces of the man
God,
and
what is
woman
that
on the
fucking
couch
music, bro?
instantly became more familiar to me. They were my parents, and I
Fucking
was watching a
terrible.
recording of what happened in my house the night my life changed forever. I immediately called the police. The new evidence helped reignite the unsolved case of my family's murder. It's the only good thing that came out of my dark web
Got
trip.
the 2 men arrested.
I've given up trying to
Imagine, no
overcome my
way.
fears of the outside world,
That shit's
at least
crazy.
for now. But maybe, just maybe, if the police can catch the men responsible for my family's murder, I'll be able to muster up the courage to go outside again.
That's crazy you even
Damn.
seen that. Why does it say destroyed number 2? What is that?
It's 3 stories. Nigga said Stroy. Stroy number 2. Did he spell it right on this slide at least? On the next one? Story number 3?
Oh, you're spoiling. You're spoiling. Stop, 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 stop. So you're peeking.
Oh god, bro. Story number 2, bro. Out of 10, what do we rate in story number 1?
It was pretty good.
Bro,
I think the plot was kind of dog shit, but like we were expecting it.
it definitely was like, yeah. I mean, I feel like it was just so obvious. That's
It
still
was
crazy.
crazy. Yeah, it's for sure crazy.
Like if you seen some shit like that in your life, bro, I don't even think you could be like mentally sane after that shit, bro. Like watching your own family get destroyed, bodied on like a fucking
It
dark
was kind of
web
like a
website.
Netflix movie, bro. It'd be definitely like one of those cheesy ass Netflix movies, in my opinion, bro. You know what I mean? Like weird ass plot twist at the end. Oh my god! Like I get into fucking watching people get bodied after my whole family get bodied. Like what kind of sick? That's some like. Tell me that's not like just like the the start to a scary movie or some shit, bro. Like I'm getting into all this. Like I don't know, bro. Some weird shit for sure.
I literally don't know. Like, his therapist was like, "Yeah, maybe you can like go outside in the public and shit, so you're not scared." And he was like, "All right, bet." And started looking up videos of niggas getting destroyed. Like, it didn't even make sense for him to look that shit up. Like, I don't know. What was he gonna accomplish with that shit other than be fucking scared?
He didn't even have to go that fucking extreme, but I mean that's what it takes, I guess, to be that guy.
That's what you get. Oh my
Bitch
god.
ass nigga.
That's some karma right there, bruh. Alright, Stroy number 2. Black Market. Let's go.
Let's get it.
Do you ever feel like your
Oh my
phone
god, I
knows
got hit
what
with
you
that
want
ad.
before you
Being
even
black
type it?
online.
Almost as if it's listening to your
I used to sell
What are you guys watching?
3
Scary video.
unsettling dark web horror stories animated.
The fuck?
Alright, story number 2. Story number 2.
organs on the dark web. No,
I used to sell
I'm
organs
not a
on the
murderer.
dark web.
I work at a funeral.
That is a wild ass first sentence to the story. I used to sell organs on the dark web. That is a wild ass first sentence.
Home as its sole undertaker and owner. It's the only funeral home in this small town I live in, so I was pretty much the only choice for the families of the deceased to go. I wasn't always the only worker here, though. The funeral home's a family business, so my father was the one who taught me the ins and outs of the trade as soon as I was old enough to. I tried to get out of it by going to medical school after university. I did pretty well for the 3 years that I was there, before I was forced to return to my hometown. My father had passed away from a sudden heart attack back home.
Damn,
He passed the
RIP.
funeral home down to me in his will. He also requested that I be the one to prepare his body for his funeral. Having to embalm his body was the single hardest thing I had to do, but I did it anyway because that's what he wanted. It was clear that the family business meant a lot to my father. The locals needed it too, if they wanted a proper ceremony without having to drive miles to the next closest funeral home. Knowing that, I just couldn't abandon it anymore. It's not like I was going to be able to pay off the student loan now that my father isn't around to help support me either. I had no choice. Either work normally as an undertaker and keep paying my student loans until it was my turn to be put in the ground, or find a little hustle on the side that might let me pay it off before I retire. The choice was pretty obvious in my mind. The experience I got from medical school helped me carefully extract the organs from every corpse.
Mans could have like sold NFTs or some shit. And he's like, nah, I'm sell fucking organs on the dark web.
That found their way to my embalming table. The suits and dresses cover up the scars, and a little bit of stuffing where the organs used to be kept them from looking deflated. Honestly, it wasn't too different from regular embalming. Their loved ones were none the wiser at their funerals. They often thanked me for making their families look alive one last time, not knowing that I had their organs stashed in a
nigga's
freezer in the
demonic,
back
bro.
of
What
the
the
funeral
fuck?
home. For as much effort as we undertakers put into making bodies look pretty, our living clients tend to not look at them very closely in the end. So hey, what they don't know won't hurt them, right? It's not like the corpses themselves can object to whatever I do to them either, since they're, dead. Considering some of the gruesome stuff regular embalming entails, undertakers wouldn't exist if they could. Now, before any of you judge me for what I did, know this. As someone who knows doctors and wanted to become one in the past, the organs that people bury and burn every day are worth more than their weight in gold. There are people in hospitals waiting for life-saving organ transplants, and while their own time is running out, those whose time had already passed are taking their invaluable organs with them into the ground, where they have no use for it. To me, burying something as precious as organs that could potentially keep more people from dying is just absurd. It's one of the reasons why I was so against inheriting the funeral home business in the first place, even more so than the morbid nature of the profession. That's not to say that I'm some sort of saint for thinking that way, though. After all, I was mainly selling
Bro, why is it showing me so many like McDonald's shit, bro? Like, it was a McDonald's recommended video, now it's a McDonald's ad, bro. You trying to tell me some shit?
organs to make money, not save lives. No legitimate doctor I knew would ever try to find organs for their patients through the dark web anyways. I try my best to not ask what my customers intend to do with the organs I provide to them. That used to be the case with one of my most frequent recurring customers. For the sake of the story, let's call him Henry. I met Henry when I was just starting out my organ selling business on the dark web. I had my own little website on the dark web where I could conduct my business. Every time I extracted an organ from a corpse, I would list it on my website with a starting price that people could bid on. Once an organ was sold and paid for with Bitcoin, I'd drive to a secluded
Bitcoin?
spot near the buyer's address,
Yo, Z,
place
what's
down
up,
a
man?
container with the
Good,
organs
chillin'.
inside,
How you
and
doing
send the
today?
coordinates to the buyer before getting the hell out of Dodge. Henry was always a high bidder, and I very quickly got used to seeing his username on my dark website, offering exorbitant amounts of money for any organ I listed. He almost always won the bid, too. I don't know where the hell he got all the money to be spending on these organs, and I didn't care. I just wanted the money. One day, I had a complete set of organs up on sale on my dark website. Hearts, lungs, kidneys, you name it. The person I got them from had died from
Whoa, what the
hypothermia.
fuck?
Apparently, he got drunk off his mind and spent the night asleep on the street where he froze to death. Terribly tragic incident. But it gave me the rare chance to
Oh, that's
harvest a full
scary.
set of
Bro, imagine dying like that. Like, out of
Freezing to
all
death on
the
the
ways
street.
to go, like, you're drunk and you fucking die on the side of the street. Like, honestly, I think I'd rather, like, do a flip off the Empire State Building or some shit. Literally anything else. That's such a lame ass way to die, bro. Fuck.
Freezing to death.
undamaged organs. Plus, him dying from the cold meant they were all still remarkably preserved by the time he reached my embalming table. The liver was a little worse for wear, though. Harry won the bid for several of the organs within just one day. I was able to make a crap ton of money, but I also had to haul a heavy icebox with a heart, a pair of lungs, 2 kidneys, and one nasty-ass liver across the state to the city he was in. I was really tired that day. Extracting that
My
many
lord,
organs without
bro.
damaging them and stitching the
take turn.
body back up isn't that easy. That, coupled with the fact that I'd delivered organs to Harry about a dozen times before, made me complacent. I didn't notice the black car that was tailing me from behind until I was
Whoa.
already in a secluded part of
Oh
the city.
God, here we go.
When I noticed the car in my rearview mirror, I felt my pulse start to race. I've always been afraid that something like this would happen. I thought that the police might have finally caught on to what I've been doing. But before I panicked, I calmed myself down. It could just be a coincidence. A car that just so happened to be going in the same direction as me. I pulled my car to the side of the road, under the pretense of checking my phone, hoping that they were just a regular car that'll just drive past. Instead,
pulled over
my
right
heart
next to
leapt
them?
into my throat when the car pulled up beside me. This is it, I thought. They were the cops and are going to arrest me for selling organs on the dark web. But instead of arresting me on sight, the person in the black car rolled down their window. Inside was an average
Whoa, look at this dude. He said average looking man. That is
What
not
the
no
fuck?
average looking
That
man. That
nigga
nigga,
green.
he looks demonic as hell. He looks high as shit, bro. Smoking the za.
looking man in a white dress shirt.
He's for
I
sure the
kept my
green,
window
bro.
shut, still pretending to be on the phone, when I got a text message on it. It was from Henry, and it simply read,
Freaky
"Look
ass
beside
nigga.
you." I realized that the person beside me was my
Beside
buyer.
you.
I was relieved that it wasn't the police, but I didn't want to show my face to a guy who buys organs on the deep web either. I made no move to open the door or roll down the window. I just texted him back asking if he was the guy in the car beside me. He confirmed my suspicion and told me to roll down the window so that we could talk. I didn't budge. I just told him that we can discuss whatever he wants to discuss through text. I also asked him how the hell he knew where I was in the first place. I could hear him chuckle in his car when he read my message,
What the
and
hell?
texted back that he had his ways. I could only assume that he
The
must be
fuck?
tracing
I'm
me by
pulling
my
off.
phone
You got me
somehow.
fucked up. I'm
He
pulling
asked
off.
me how I
feeling-
got my organs, to which I replied that it was none of his concern. I saw him frown through the car's open window. Then he asked me if he could be there when I acquired the organs. I asked him why
frown?
the
What the
hell he'd
fuck?
want that.
He's a
His
NPC ass
weirdo.
response
nigga.
remains with me to this day. He texted me that he always wanted to try
Some
making
Skyrim interaction
sashimi,
shit.
and that
He
the
look like
meat
Skyrim
needed to be
character,
extra
too.
fresh for that.
Definitely looks
I
like a dark
realized
elf.
with horror that all this time he'd been buying the organs I sold to eat them. When I looked at him again through the closed car window, He was
Oh my
smiling in my direction.
god. What the fuck? That's insane.
He's honestly on some demonic ass shit, bro. Imagine eating human fucking
Sharp ass
meat,
teeth and shit,
bro.
green fucking skin, red eyes.
You're definitely a monster.
With a toothy grin and wide, crazed eyes. I hit the
Probably.
gas and got the hell out of there as soon as possible. I also broke my phone and tossed its remains into a garbage can as soon as I could. Deep down, I
Broke
always
his
knew that it was
phone.
possible that my customers could be eating the
fuck?
organs I gave them. There are a lot of sick people on the dark web. But there's a difference between knowing there are cannibals out there and coming face to face with one yourself. I no longer sell organs on the dark web. Instead, I encourage my living clients to willingly donate their loved ones' organs. Maybe by doing that, I can make up for all the disgusting things I've enabled on the dark web.
On the dark web.
The best
Straw
way to
number
burn
3.
fat is
Whoa,
with
what is
more
she
fat.
doing? You
And
seen
I'm
that?
being serious because there's actually two.
What the fuck was that?
Straw number 3.
She was doing
Yeah, you see how
It-
fast she was going? Hitting
she was
push-ups at
doing
like
push-ups like 3,000 miles per hour and shit.
6 push-ups
Goofy
every
ass
1
bitch.
second. Alright, straw number 3 with the dark web. Alright, let's lock in. Stolen credit
I became a
card.
shopaholic in my high school years. Like most girls my age, I was interested in clothes, boys, and clothes that'll get me noticed by boys. One boy that I really wanted to get the attention of was one of the rich preps, who wouldn't turn to look at you if you weren't wearing brand name clothes that cost more than what any high school student could make in a month from part-time jobs. Let's call him Dick, because that's what he was now that
Let's call him Dick. She's extra horny for that. Look at her face, bro. Extra horny for that.
I look back on it. To be honest, I can't remember why I was crushing so hard on him, other than that he was rich and moderately good-looking. I must have been a weird, stupid kid back then, especially considering the lengths I resorted to in a desperate bid for his attention. I wanted to get my hands on some exclusive limited edition clothes to impress Dick. You know, the kind that prospective customers have to line up and camp in front of the brand name's store the day before
She
it's
better cop some
released for a
Supreme.
chance of buying it at a higher price than what most people make in a month. It's stupid, and I knew it was stupid, but it was the sort of thing that Dick liked to see, so I was willing to put my better judgment aside just for him. Still, I had neither the time nor the money to do what needed to be done to get stuff like that. My parents sure as hell wouldn't let me use their money for such a stupid reason anyways, so instead I tried looking for them secondhand online for a price that I could afford using what I made at my part-time babysitting job. I didn't have much luck with that. A lot of the sellers were trying to make money by selling the items for more than they'd bought them for, so the prices were even more ridiculous than they would have been fresh
Shit,
off the
yeah,
rack.
buy some
I
Supreme
remember
off
once
Grailed.
reading that stolen goods could be found being sold on the dark web for cheap, since the sellers wanted to get rid of them as quickly as possible. So I decided to try my luck there once I've exhausted
Bro,
every
this small ass mouth, bro. Yeah, she pissing me off looking like that.
other option. I logged into the deep web using a Tor browser and immediately went to find a website for stolen goods on sale. I was able to find some of the exclusive clothes that I was interested in. The prices were only barely any better than the retail price though, and some of them had stains that I didn't want to think about too much. After a while, I was just about ready to give up trying to impress Dick with clothes I clearly couldn't afford. Things would have turned out so much better for me if I had done that. But right before I closed the Tor browser and got back to my life, an ad popped up on the corner of the screen. Several ads like it had popped up every now and then as I browsed the deep web. I ignored most of them, but I
this
decided on
one
a
of
whim
those?
to take a look at this one before I closed the browser.
McDonald's.
It was an
is one.
advertisement for credit card information on sale for as cheap as $25. This piqued my interest. I thought I'd be able to buy the clothes online using someone else's credit card if I just bought the credit card info for a measly $25. I probably should have known that there would be a catch, but I was too blinded by the chance of an easy solution after searching everywhere else, only to be disappointed. After buying the equivalent of $25 in Bitcoin and spending it all on a stranger's credit card, I was ready to go on a shopping spree. I won't say what the name of the person whose credit card is, for reasons that'll become obvious. For the sake of the story, I'll just call him John Doe. John Doe was loaded. I must have bought over $10,000 worth of stuff without maxing out his credit card. I was ecstatic that I hit the jackpot, even after Dick promptly blew me off in favor of dating some girl from a family even richer than his. I kept using John Doe's credit card to buy just about whatever I wanted online. I never had them sent to my house, though. There's an abandoned house in my neighborhood that I used as the billing.
Bro. Like, I didn't even know you could, like, get shit on the dark web like that. I thought you could only buy, like, organs and shit. Niggas buying Supreme and Bape off the dark web.
Address for stuff I bought. The yard was a bit overgrown, but other than that, it still looked livable enough that someone who didn't know any better would assume that the homeowner was just too lazy to cut their grass. I was pretty small for a teenager, so I was able to squeeze through a tiny window in the back of the house to sneak inside. When the day of an expected delivery came...
Why is she sneaking into this house? I missed something? Bro, why is she sneaking into this house for? Hold up.
House, though. There's an abandoned house in my neighborhood that I used as the billing address for stuff I bought. The yard was a bit overgrown, but other than that, it still looked livable enough that someone who didn't know any better would assume that the homeowner was just too lazy to cut their grass. I was pretty small for a teenager, so I was able to squeeze through a tiny window in the back of the house to sneak inside. When the day of an expected delivery came, I'd go to the house and wait behind the door for the courier to arrive. I'd snatch the package they left on the front door the moment they were gone and stuff it inside my bag to bring home with a smile on my face. Things were perfect. Then, one day, as I was waiting in the house for an overpriced jacket, someone knocked on the door. I thought it was just the courier at first. I waited in silence for them to give up and just placed the package on the door before leaving. But then, they kept knocking. Then, they started banging on the door while shouting for John Doe to open the door. I got scared at the mention of John Doe's name. I'd stolen his credit card info to buy things in his name and had them delivered to that house. Whoever was on the other side must have tracked my transactions made under his name and found the house where the items were being delivered. They thought that I was John Doe, and they did not sound happy with him. As I sat frozen in panic on a dusty couch, trying to figure out what to do, a loud bang rang out from the other side of the front door. A vase in the living room shattered into pieces. Behind where it once stood was a smoking gunshot hole fired through the front door. I immediately booked it out of the house, jumping out of the back window and into the streets. I ran back home as fast as I could, the sound of gunshots fading behind me the further I got from the abandoned house. A few days later, I read on the news that a man by the name of John Doe had died in a hit for stealing money from the mob. I had no way of confirming it, but I knew it was the same John Doe whose credit card I'd been leeching off. I never went back to that abandoned house to receive the jacket I ordered. After what almost happened to me there, I don't think I'll ever return to that house, or the dark web, ever again.
Alright, that one was especially mid. I'm not gonna lie, I think
oh my god, what is that one on the top left?
I know, this shit looks demonic. I'm definitely saving these. Look at this one. Fucking crazy. I'd pull up to school with my new Jordan 1 dark web bloodstained. I was fucking with it. At least one of these ones were good. This one was alright. I like this one. This one was actually really good. I like this one, the Oregon one. And then
that one was fire.
This one's super mid, but is what it is. It went 2 for 3. It's more than 50%, so I fuck with it. And we'll watch some shit later.